You are not lazy, you are tired. I guess I am just exhausted. Rest, it's okay.
You are not lazy. Let that settle in for a moment. You are not lazy. You are tired, overwhelmed, stuck in the space between who you are and who you want to become. And that tension? That's not laziness. That's fear disguised as hesitation. People throw the word laziness around like it fixes everything. Like if you just call someone lazy enough times, they suddenly become productive. But deep down, you know it's not that simple. Lazy people don't have dreams bigger than their courage. Lazy people don't hate themselves at night for the list of things they promised they would do. You do. And because you do, this message is for you, the one who still hasn't started. You wake up every morning with vision in your mind, goals in your heart, but feet that won't move. You want success. You want freedom. You want a life that others only dream about, but you never begin. And that's the tragedy. Ambition without action becomes regret. It's not that you don't want to work. It's that you don't know how to start imperfectly. You think success is big. You think it demands perfection. You think you have to be ready. You're wrong. Because the moment you decide you have to be perfect to begin, you never begin. And that's the real sickness. Not laziness, but fear of failure. Fear that if you try and fail, your belief in yourself will crumble. Fear that if you start and struggle, you'll realize you're not cut out for it. So you delay, you scroll, you procrastinate, you tell yourself stories. I'll start next week. I need one more day to prepare. Maybe when I wake up early, I'll finally do it. But the truth is simple. Tomorrow isn't coming for you. Tomorrow is a habit that never arrives. You see, motivation doesn't show up with coffee or fancy quotes. Motivation shows up only after motion. Only once you start moving do you begin to feel it. Teleprompter. Right now your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. Keep you safe. Safety means comfort. Comfort means staying where you are. Comfort means not risking embarrassment, not risking failure, not risking disappointment. But comfort is just a prison with cushions. You don't want comfort anymore. You want growth. And growth never comes in comfort. So stop calling yourself lazy. Lazy people don't feel guilty. Lazy people don't fear action. Lazy people don't lie awake at night questioning every wasted hour. You are not lazy. You are ambitious with a broken start button. Your ambition is real. It's loud at night. It's loud when you close your eyes. It's loud when you scroll through success stories that aren't yours. But every time you try to move, your brain pushes back. Because your brain fears change more than it fears regret. Let that sink in. Fear of change is louder than fear of regret. That's why you stay stuck longer than you should. You know what you want. You can see the life you want. You can imagine your success. But you refuse to begin. Why? Not because you're lazy. Not because you don't care. But because the first step feels impossible. And that's the exact moment where most people fail. Success doesn't wait for you to be ready. Success waits for you to begin. Even when you're scared. Even when you're unsure. Even when you feel like you're failing already. Here's the truth. Action doesn't require confidence. Action creates confidence. Confidence doesn't arrive before you start. Confidence arrives because you didn't stop. You see, the mind lies to you. You're not good enough. You're too late. You should have started earlier. But the truth doesn't care about timing. The truth only cares about motion. You don't need a big plan today. You don't need clarity about the entire journey. You don't need the perfect moment. You only need one thing. One small action. One step forward. Once you take that step, the world will reward you with something far more valuable than gold. Momentum. Momentum is the force that turns small actions into unstoppable progress. Motivation comes and goes. Momentum stays. Instant views. Every successful person you admire, the athlete, the entrepreneur, the artist, the speaker, did not start perfect. They started messy. They started unsure. They started afraid. But they started. That was the difference. They started on a bad day, on a boring day, on a tired day, because they knew something you haven't realized yet. Perfect beginnings are illusions. Real beginnings are ugly. So here's your challenge right now. Stop waiting for clarity. Stop waiting for energy. Stop waiting for inspiration. Just move. Just take one action. Make today the day you begin. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, not next month. Today. Because your future self is already here, watching you from the other side of success. And that future self is screaming at you. Start now. Right here. Right now. At some point, you need to hear this without filters. Nobody is coming to save you. Not your parents. Not your friends. Not your country. Not the system. And definitely not motivation. That realization hurts at first, because it destroys the fantasy. But once the fantasy dies, strength is born. See, ambitious but lazy people suffer from one dangerous habit. They wait. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They wait for the right time. but the right time never arrives. Because the right time is uncomfortable. You don't avoid work because you're lazy. You avoid work because you associate with pain. Pain of failure. Pain of judgment. Pain of realizing you're not as good as you hoped. So you escape. You scroll. You watch videos like this. You feel motivated for a few minutes, and then you go back to the same life. That cycle slowly kills self-respect. And self-respect is everything. Once you lose self-respect, discipline becomes impossible. Because why would you keep promises to someone you don't trust? Right now, you don't trust yourself. You've broken too many promises. I'll wake up early. I'll start tomorrow. I'll be consistent this time. But you didn't. And every broken promise taught your brain one thing. Your words don't matter. So your brain stopped listening. That's not laziness. That's conditioning. And conditioning can be reversed, but only one way. You stop making big promises, and you start keeping small ones. Very small. So small that failure feels embarrassing. Because rebuilding self-trust is not about intensity. It's about reliability. You don't need to shock your life. You need to prove to yourself that when you say something, you do it. Even if it's boring. Even if it's small. Even if nobody sees it. Especially if nobody sees it. Because who you are in private is who you really are. Let's talk about discipline. Discipline is misunderstood. People think discipline means force, pain, punishment. It doesn't. Discipline means structure, and structure protects you from your weakest moments. When motivation disappears, structure remains. That's why successful people don't rely on feelings. They rely on routines. Same wake-up time, same work block, same non-negotiables. Not because they love routine, but because routine removes excuses. Excuses only exist when choices exist. Too many choices create paralysis. So simplify your life. You don't need 10 goals. You need one priority. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a repeatable system. And systems don't care how you feel. That's the beauty of them. Here's a hard truth. You don't rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your habits. Your dreams are high, but your habits are low. That gap is why you feel frustrated. Every day your ambition reminds you of the life you're not living. And every night your habits confirm why you're not there yet. That internal conflict drains energy. That's why you feel tired all the time. Not physically, mentally. You're tired of fighting yourself. So stop fighting. Start aligning. Lower the resistance. Make progress easier than procrastination. Change your environment. If your phone is killing your focus, remove it. If your room makes you lazy, change it. If certain people drain you, distance yourself. This is not weakness. This is strategy. You don't need more willpower. You need fewer temptations. Willpower is temporary. Environment is permanent. Design your life. So the right action is a default action. And understand this. Consistency is not about doing more. It's about doing less every day. Most people fail because they do too much, too fast. They burn out. They quit. Then they label themselves lazy. You don't need to go hard. You need to go long. Slow progress beats fast burnout. Every time. And here's something important. You'll feel lonely on this path. Growth is lonely. When you start changing, people notice. Not always in a good way. Some will doubt you. Some will mock you. Some will feel threatened. Because your growth reflects their stagnation. So they try to pull you back. Not because they hate you, but because change makes people uncomfortable. Be ready for that. Not everyone will clap for your discipline. Not everyone will support your focus. But remember this. The people who benefit from your success will not be the same people who are comfortable with your struggle. So choose your future over temporary approval. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need to stop doubting yourself. And doubt disappears when action becomes consistent, not intense. Consistent. Do the work when it's boring. Do the work when you're tired. Do the work when nobody is watching. That's where identity is built. And once identity changes, behavior follows naturally. You won't need motivation. You won't need reminders. You'll move because that's who you are now. Not ambitious, but lazy. Ambitious and disciplined. Not perfect, but progressing. And progress is enough. For now, let's talk about fear. Not the dramatic kind. Not the kind you see in movies. The quiet kind. The fear that shows up as overthinking. The fear that shows up as procrastination. The fear that shows up as, I'm not ready yet. That fear has been controlling your life longer than you realize. You don't freeze because you don't know what to do. You freeze because you know what to do, and you're scared of what happens after. What if you try and fail? What if you give your best and it's still not enough? What if you succeed and now expectations rise? So you stay where you are because staying stuck feels safer than risking disappointment. But here's the truth nobody tells you. Fear does not disappear before action. Fear disappears because of action. Waiting makes fear grow. Movement makes fear shrink. Every day you avoid the thing you know you should do, your brain learns one lesson. This is dangerous. So next time, it feels even harder. Avoidance trains fear. That's why ambitious people feel trapped. The more potential you have, the more pressure you feel. And pressure without action turns into anxiety. You start doubting yourself. You start questioning your ability. You start believing the lie that maybe you're not meant for more. But that lie was created by inaction, not by truth. Let me be clear. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not incapable. You are simply untrained. Nobody taught you how to handle fear. They taught you how to avoid it. Stay safe. Don't fail. Don't embarrass yourself. So now every risk feels like danger. But success demands risk, not reckless risk. Calculated discomfort. The willingness to be bad before you're good. The willingness to be slow before you're fast. The willingness to look foolish before you look confident. Every person you admire paid that price. The difference is they paid it early. You've been postponing payment. And the interest is building. Regret is the interest of inaction. Every year you delay, the cost goes up. More self-doubt, less energy, more responsibility, less time. That's why starting now matters. Not because now is easy, but because now is cheaper than later. Let's talk about consistency. Consistency is not motivation repeated. Consistency is commitment honored. Even when motivation dies, you don't need to feel inspired to do what you said you would do. You just need standards. Standards remove negotiation. When you negotiate with yourself every day, you lose every day. I'll do it later. I'll skip today. Just this once. Those small negotiations destroy long-term progress. Successful people don't have stronger motivation. They have stricter standards. They decide in advance what kind of person they are, and then they act accordingly. Not perfectly, but repeatedly. Consistency doesn't mean never missing a day. It means never quitting. Missing once is human. Quitting is a choice. And ambitious but lazy people quit mentally long before they quit physically. They stop believing. They stop expecting results. They stop trusting the process. That's why discipline feels pointless to them. But discipline is not about immediate results. Discipline is a vote for your future identity. Every small action is a vote. You either vote for the person you want to become or the person you're trying to escape. There is no neutral. Every day you're choosing, even when you think you're not. So choose intentionally. And understand this. You don't need massive confidence to change your life. You need evidence. Evidence that you can show up. Evidence that you can follow through. Evidence that you can endure boredom. Confidence grows from proof, not from positive thinking. You don't think your way into action. You act your way into belief. That's why starting small is powerful. Not because it's easy, but because it's repeatable. Repetition creates identity, and identity changes behavior permanently. Once you see yourself as someone who doesn't quit, quitting becomes uncomfortable. Once you see yourself as someone who shows up, skipping feels wrong. That's when discipline becomes natural. But you must earn that identity, day by day, action by action. No shortcuts, no hacks, just truth. And the truth is this: you will never feel ready. There will never be a perfect time. Fear will never fully disappear. So stop waiting. Move with fear. Act with doubt. Work with uncertainty. Because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement despite it. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be brave. For 10 minutes a day, 10 focus minutes, done consistently, will change your life faster than one intense day followed by quitting. Small actions, daily. That's how momentum is built. And once momentum starts, you become dangerous, not to others, to your old self, the version of you that stayed stuck, the version of you that waited, the version of you that settled. That version won't survive once you decide to move forward. And that's a good thing. Now let's talk about identity. Because nothing changes permanently until identity changes first. You don't act based on what you want. You act based on who you believe you are. If deep down you believe, I'm inconsistent, I'm lazy, I never finish, then no motivation in the world can save you. You will always return to the version of yourself you identify with. That's why temporary change is easy. Permanent change is rare. Temporary change is driven by emotion. Permanent change is driven by identity. Right now, your identity is confused. You see yourself as ambitious, but your actions don't match. That creates internal conflict. And internal conflict drains energy. You're tired not because you work too hard, but because you are constantly fighting yourself. Two versions of you, pulling in opposite directions. One wants comfort, one wants growth. And comfort has been winning, not because it's stronger, but because it's familiar. So we don't fight comfort directly. We replace identity. Slowly, quietly, through action. You don't wake up one day and suddenly become disciplined. You earn discipline by proving it to yourself. One promise at a time. One completed task at a time. Identity is built from evidence. And evidence only comes from behavior. That's why words don't work. You can tell yourself, I'm disciplined 1,000 times. But if your actions don't agree, your brain won't believe you. Your brain believes what you do, not what you say. So stop trying to think differently. Start acting differently. Even in small ways. Especially in small ways. Because small actions are believable. And believable actions rewrite identity. Here's something important. You will have to let go of the old version of you. And that version will fight to survive. It will remind you of comfort. It will remind you of excuses. It will remind you of how easy quitting feels. That version doesn't want to die. Because change feels like danger to the brain. So resistance is normal. Feeling lazy is normal. Feeling unmotivated is normal. Feeling like quitting is normal. But obeying those feelings is optional. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the one who decides which voice gets control. And control comes from standards. Standards are rules you don't negotiate with. I work even when I don't feel like it. I finish what I start. I don't skip twice. Those rules protect you from your weakest moments. Without standards, every bad day becomes an excuse. And life has many bad days. Let's talk about sacrifice. Because ambition without sacrifice is fantasy. You can't keep everything and still change everything. Something has to go. Late night scrolling, comfortable routines, unproductive friendships, instant pleasure. Growth demands trade-offs. And the longer you delay those trade-offs, the heavier the price becomes. People love to talk about success, but they hate to talk about what it costs. Success costs time, energy, relationships, comfort, not forever, but for long enough to change your life. If you're not willing to sacrifice now, life will force you to sacrifice later. Health, peace, dreams. Choose your sacrifice. Because sacrifice is unavoidable. The difference is choice. You can choose short-term discomfort for long-term freedom, or short-term comfort for long-term regret. And regret is heavy. Heavier than discipline. Heavier than effort. Heavier than sacrifice. Now, let's talk about loneliness. Because growth is lonely. When you start changing, you won't fit in anymore. Your old habits won't accept you. Your old circle won't understand you. You'll feel disconnected. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something different. And different feels lonely before it feels powerful. Most people quit here, not because the work is too hard, but because the isolation is uncomfortable. They miss the validation. They miss the familiarity. They miss being understood. So they go back to old habits, old routines, old versions of themselves. But understand this. Loneliness is a sign of transition. It means you're no longer who you were, but not yet who you'll become. That space is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Every level of success requires a new version of you, and that version cannot be built in the same environment. So don't fear the loneliness. Use it. Silence builds focus. Distance builds clarity. Isolation builds strength. You're not alone forever. You're alone for now, and for now is where transformation happens. Stop looking for approval. Approval slows growth. When you need validation, you give others control over your progress. And most people will not validate discipline. They will question it. They will say you changed. They're right. That's the point. Change is uncomfortable for people who stayed the same. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them misunderstand. Your results will explain everything later. You don't need to announce your grind. You don't need to prove anything. Just show up every day, even when it's quiet, even when it's boring, even when nobody cares. Especially then, because that's where identity is forged. And once identity is solid, nothing can stop you. Not laziness, not fear, not doubt, because you're no longer trying to change. You have changed. Let's talk about the because nothing changes not the kind whether you like until identity changes. You are becoming someone. You don't act every day shows up as not some. You act based on fear that shows up as fixing things. Deep down, you believe fear that shows up. I'm in your future self. I'm lazy. That fear has been never created by small daily. Then no motivation. You don't fear because you don't know what you do when you're tired. Always because you know what to do. The version and you're scared of what happens. You identify. When you try. That's why temporary. What if you give those moments to decide change is ready? Here's the temporary change. Now, your future self is permanent change driven by resent staying right now. No third option. Your identity is 5 years from now. You see yourself, you look back at this phase, but your actions does not either say. That creates, that's when fear disappears because an internal conflict. Waiting rings. That's when I knew what to do. You're tired now and fear because you work too hard. Every day you avoid the thing because you are constantly fighting. Knowing you're not at two versions hurts more than failure. Pulling failure directions. So next one's comfort. It feels even harder. So stop avoiding comfort has been winning. How do I feel? That's why I'm because you start asking, but because what is my potential yourself? So we don't fight more pressure you feel, not motivation. We pressure without action, not perfection. Turns into anxiety. You start shouting needs. You don't wake up once. You start making questioning. Suddenly become your future self believing a lie to do the boring by proving maybe your future self needs one promise that lie was created by one completed task, not by true visible. Identity is progress. You are not behind, and you are not undeniable. You are not. That's why words. You are simply untrained. You can tell nobody taught you how to sacrifice. They taught you thousands of times. Stay safe. No praise. Don't fail. No result. Brain won't believe. No validation. So now brain that phase breaks danger. Not with just system nothing. So stop trying to think what's really happening. Start acting calculated. Discomfort and small willingness to be bad, especially in small your good. No willingness to be slow, no recognition before you're fast, just and believe willingness to look foolish. Page your right identity. Before you look quick something early, every person you have to let go. Pay that never see what you were different in that version. You never fight the version you've been postponing. That could remind you of any interest. Real remind you of regret. Not money. Is the interest remind you of how every year you delay unlived potential. That version is one of the most painful because change feels like human more responsibility. Brain shows up so resistance is that's why starting feeling lazy is not because now it's feeling unmotivated. It's normal. You know you sound like quitting and settling. Let's talk about obeying those feelings. So consistency is not motivation. You are not changes. Consistency. You are not being exactly like this. Even with what will you be in 5 years? Which you don't need the same habits and control. You said you would stand. Same distance, standards or rules. Just stand. You don't negotiate more tired. I work goes when I don't feel like time does not add up. I finish what I lose every day. I don't skip twice. That's why urges will protect you, not panic from your weakest moments. Those small enough standards, the kind that every bad day. I don't need to rush. Success is winning bad days. Don't have strong. You don't need to transform. They have stricter because ambition decide sacrifice. Direction what kind of person they are. You can't claim they act accordingly and still change everything. Even if it's something has to go. Especially late nights, never missing a day. Slow progress means never quitting. Unproductive missing once is huge. Instant pleasure. Quitting is fragile. Progress ambitious but lazy. Delay those trade-offs because patience is heavier than the price physically. Patience, they stop love to talk about. They stop expecting, but they hate results. They stop trusting the patient success costs. That's why without energy feels relations. That's real strength. Discipline is not about forever results, but for long discipline is a vote change you can work. If you're not willing to sacrifice, and that's where separation vote for the gap between who you are, the person you're trying to be, who you want to become. There is no new yourself every day. If you sacrifice, even when you think you refuse to choose differences, now understand this clearly. You are not. You don't need massive confidence. You are running out to change your life. Short-term learning evidence for long evidence that you can show weight is heavy. Evidence that you can follow in discipline. Learning evidence heavier than after you're bored. Planning becomes confidence grows from and motivation because of positive thinking. You don't need to work your way into action. You need to start changing to believe. One action. That's why starting small is old habits won't accept. 1,000 ideas never won't because it's repeated. So stop. Repetition creates identity. Not because you're doing an identity changes quietly because you're doing once you see yourself don't underestimate different lonely. Quitting becomes feel dramatic. Once you see yourself as not because of that's when skipping feels wrong. But automatic isolation, that's when you're uncomfortable. But they must burn that identity. They may by their inspiration, they must be understood. And the moment they go back, no hacks, everything is truth. Old routine. And the truth is, you say go. You'll never feel moment matters more. But understand be 100 loneliness. Fear will never sign because it rewires. It means you're no longer moving here. But not yet trust become. Work and one self-trust is because courage everything is necessary. Fear. Every courage is movement despite it. Fear you don't need to be action becomes easy. You just need not because life got easier. 10 minutes a day. But same as you can focus minutes. So don't fear that consistently. Use the shame silence to build focus. And every time you avoid clarity, avoidance becomes action builds strength. Every time you're not alone, action becomes. You're alone once momentum. You are training from now. Every becomes daily transformation, not to others. Where you train your old discipline or delay version of courage or complete validation. The version of others your future self already the version of you, and the only thing left that version of your present self. Once they will try to move forward, not to say you, and that's a good thing. They're right, even if it's small. That's the point. Especially change small, is uncomfortable because small actions stayed the same, done daily. So let them create massive change. Let them doubt. And let one day, misunderstand. You'll realize your results will explain you didn't suddenly become everything successful. You don't need to announce your grind. You don't need to prove anything. Just show up every day, even when it's quiet, even when it's boring, even when nobody cares. Especially then, because that's where identity is forged. And once identity is solid, nothing can stop you. Not laziness, not fear, not doubt, because you're no longer trying to change. You have changed. Let's talk about pressure. Because sooner or later, pressure will find you. Either you choose pressure now, or life will force it on you later. Most people avoid responsibility because responsibility feels heavy. Bills, expectations, deadlines, commitments, so they stay light. No pressure. No, wait, no responsibility. But here's the truth no one wants to hear. A life without responsibility eventually feels meaningless. You don't feel proud because nothing depends on you. No one relies on you. Nothing would collapse if you disappeared for a week, and that slowly destroys your sense of value. Humans are wired to carry weight. That's why people who avoid responsibility often feel lost, and people who carry responsibility often feel tired, but fulfilled. Pressure is not your enemy. Pressure gives structure to your days. Pressure forces focus. Pressure demands growth. The right pressure turns potential into power, but only if you accept it. Ambitious but lazy people run from pressure. They want freedom without responsibility, but freedom without responsibility is chaos. True freedom comes from competence, and competence comes from carrying weight, doing things, even when you don't feel like it, showing up because someone or something depends on you. That's when excuses disappear. You don't negotiate. When responsibility is real, you act. That's why people often perform better. When others are counting on them, it pulls something out of them. You need that pull, not fake motivation. Real responsibility. So stop asking, how do I feel? Start asking, what needs to be done? Feelings are unreliable. Responsibility is not. And as you grow, the weight will increase. More expectations, more pressure, more responsibility. That's not punishment. That's promotion. Life only gives responsibility to those who can handle it. If you avoid responsibility now, you are training life to give you less later, less opportunity, less trust, less growth. And that's a dangerous trade. Let's talk about standards again, because pressure without standards leads to burnout. Standards tell you what is acceptable and what is not. I don't skip work. I don't quit when it's hard. I do what I said I would do. Standards protect you from emotional decisions. They keep you stable. When life becomes chaotic, without standards, pressure breaks people. With standards, pressure shapes them. You don't need to be extreme. You need to be reliable. Reliability is rare, and rare things are valuable. People trust reliable people. Opportunities find reliable people. Success sticks to reliable people. Not the most talented, not the most motivated, the most consistent. And consistency is built under pressure. When it's inconvenient, when it's uncomfortable, when it would be easy to quit. That's when your character is revealed, not in easy moments, in hard ones. Now, let's talk about leadership. Even if you don't want to lead anyone, because leadership starts with self-leadership. If you can't lead yourself, you'll never lead others. And self-leadership is simple. Do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. No drama, no excuses, just execution. Once you master that, people notice. They might not say anything, but they feel it. Consistency is loud. Over time, people begin to rely on you. They expect you to show up. That's pressure. Good pressure. The kind that sharpens you. But this only happens if you stop disappearing. Stop being unpredictable. Stop being emotional with your effort. Show up the same. On good days and bad days. That's professionalism. That's maturity. And maturity changes how life treats you. Life gives more to people who handle more. Now understand this. There will be days when you feel empty. No motivation. No excitement. No energy. Those days matter the most. Because anyone can work when they feel inspired. Few can work when they feel nothing. Those are the days that separate amateurs from professionals. And you don't need to love those days. You just need to respect them. Because every time you show up, when it's hard, you send a message to yourself. I can be trusted. Self-trust is everything. Without it, confidence collapses. With it, you become dangerous. Dangerous to doubt. Dangerous to fear. Dangerous to excuses. You stop asking for permission. You stop waiting. You move. And movement changes your life. Slowly at first. Then all at once, you'll notice something shift. Your posture changes. Your voice changes. Your decisions become firmer. Not because you became arrogant, but because you became grounded. Grounded in action. Grounded in discipline. Grounded in responsibility. And once that happens, you can handle pressure. Not perfectly, but consistently. And consistency is enough. Enough to build momentum. Enough to build respect. Enough to build a future. You don't need to carry the whole world today. Just carry your part. Just handle what's in front of you. Just do the work assigned today. That's how strong people are built. Not in moments of glory, but in moments of responsibility they didn't run from. And one day, you'll realize the pressure you once avoided is the pressure that made you. Now let's talk about chaos. Because no matter how disciplined you become, life will interrupt you. Plans will break. Energy will drop. Things will go wrong. This is where most people quit. Not because they are weak, but because they expected progress to be smooth. It never is. Growth is messy, inconsistent, unpredictable, and if your discipline only works when life is calm, then it's not discipline. It's convenience. Real discipline shows up when everything feels off, when you're tired, when you're stressed, when motivation is gone. That's when it matters. You don't build resilience by avoiding chaos. You build resilience by operating inside it. Ambitious but lazy people collapse the moment their routine breaks. They miss one day, then another, then they disappear. Not because they wanted to quit, but because they didn't know how to recover. So let me tell you this clearly. Missing a day is not failure. Missing twice is dangerous. Quitting is a decision. You don't lose progress because of a bad day. You lose progress because you let a bad day turn into a bad week, and a bad week turn into a bad month, and then you label yourself again. See? I told you I'm lazy. No, you just didn't get back up fast enough. The skill you need most is not motivation. It's recovery. The ability to reset without drama. No guilt spirals. No self-hate. No overthinking. Just, I slipped, I continue. That mindset alone will change everything. Because consistency is not perfection. It's resilience. It's the refusal to quit. Even when you mess up, especially when you mess up, life will test you. Unexpected bills, family problems, mental exhaustion, failure. You will not feel strong all the time. So stop building a system that requires you to feel strong. Build a system that works when you feel weak. Lower the bar on hard days, but never remove it. Do less, but do something. 10 minutes instead of an hour. One task instead of 5. Momentum doesn't care about size. It cares about continuity. Break the chain. And restarting feels heavy. Protect the chain at all costs. Even if progress feels laughably small. Because small progress keeps identity intact. And identity is everything. Let's talk about setbacks. Because the setbacks are not signs that you're failing. They're signs that you're trying. People who never fail are people who never move. You will get rejected. You will get ignored. You will fall short. And that will hurt. But pain with direction is better than comfort without purpose. Every setback carries information. If you're willing to learn, most people don't. They personalize failure. I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. That's lazy thinking. Failure is feedback. It tells you what to adjust, what to improve, what to strengthen, but only if you stay in the game. The moment you quit, failure becomes identity. As long as you continue, failure is just part of the process. You don't need to win every day. You need to refuse to surrender. That's it. Let's talk about patience again. But this time under pressure, because patience in calm times is easy. Patience under stress is rare, and rare traits create rare outcomes. You will want results fast. You will feel behind. You will compare yourself to others. Comparison is poison. You don't know their story. You don't know their struggles. You don't know their shortcuts. Focus on your lane, your timeline, your progress. The only competition that matters is between you today and you yesterday. Win that, even slightly. And if you can't win, don't lose badly. Just show up. That counts. Now let's address quitting. Quitting is seductive. It promises relief. It promises comfort. It promises rest. But quitting doesn't bring peace. It brings silence. And silence is dangerous. Because in silence, regret speaks. What if I continued? What if I didn't quit? What if I trusted myself longer? Those questions haunt people. Not because they failed, but because they stopped trying. You don't want to live with those questions. So make a decision now. Not an emotional one. A logical one. No matter how slow it gets. No matter how boring it feels. No matter how many times you fall. You don't quit. You adjust. You recover. You continue. That's the rule. Not forever. Just today. And then tomorrow, you make the same decision again. That's how unbreakable people are built. Not by intensity. Not by talent. By refusal. The refusal to stop. And understand this. There will be moments when everything in you says, is this even worth it? Those moments are critical because that question appears right before breakthroughs, right before identity shifts, right before progress becomes visible. If you quit there, you'll never know how close you were. Most people quit one step before momentum. Don't be most people. Be patient under pressure. Stay consistent under chaos and refuse to quit. That combination will take you further than motivation ever could. And when you finally look back, you won't remember how hard it was. You'll remember that you didn't give up, and that will be enough. Now let's talk about the end. Not the end of this video. The end of excuses. Because one day, whether you like it or not, This phase of your life will be over. Youth fades. Energy changes. Opportunities narrow. That's not fear. That's reality. And the scariest question you will ever face is this. Did I become who I was capable of becoming? Not did you try sometimes. Not did you think about it. But did you actually do the work long enough to see what you were capable of? Most people never answer that question honestly. They distract themselves. They stay busy. They stay comfortable. And comfort slowly steals their future. You don't want to reach the end of your life and realize you live below your potential. That regret is quiet, but it lasts forever. Money can be rebuilt. Status can change. Mistakes can be forgiven, but wasted potential never comes back. That's why self-respect matters. Not confidence, not ego, self-respect. Self-respect comes from knowing you did what you said you would do, even when it was hard, even when it was lonely, even when nobody was watching. That's real pride, not loud pride, quiet pride, the kind you feel when you're alone. You don't need to be famous. You don't need to be rich, but you do need to respect yourself. And self-respect is built one disciplined day at a time. You already know what you need to do. That's the truth. You don't need another plan. You don't need another video. You don't need another excuse. You need courage, not dramatic courage. Daily courage. The courage to show up. The courage to continue. The courage to not quit when quitting feels reasonable. Because quitting will always feel reasonable. There will always be a reason. That's why winners don't look for reasons. They look for standards. Standards don't care about mood. Standards don't care about fear. Standards don't care about excuses. They just demand action. And action changes everything. Slowly at first, then completely. One day you'll notice. You're not forcing yourself anymore. You'll notice discipline feels normal. You'll notice laziness doesn't control you. Not because you eliminated it, but because you outgrew it. You became someone stronger. Someone reliable. Someone dangerous to excuses. And that version of you will look back at this moment with gratitude. Grateful you didn't quit. Grateful you didn't settle. Grateful you didn't listen to the voice that said, stay comfortable. You don't need to win today. You just need to move. You just need to take one step in the right direction and then another tomorrow. That's how lives are built, not through massive breakthroughs, but through quiet consistency. So here's the final truth. If you are ambitious but lazy, it's not a curse. It's a warning that your potential is high and your discipline must rise to meet it, because potential without discipline turns into regret, and discipline without purpose turns into burnout. But when ambition and discipline align, you become unstoppable. Not overnight, not easily, but inevitably. So decide now, not emotionally, logically. Will you continue to be the person who knows what to do, but doesn't do it? Or will you become the person who acts, even when it's uncomfortable? You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You don't need confidence. You need action. Right now, when this video ends, don't scroll. Don't wait. Don't plan. Do one thing you've been avoiding. One. And let that be the start. Because the moment you start moving, everything changes. Your mind follows. Your confidence follows. Your future follows. And one day, you'll realize you were never lazy. You were just waiting for the moment you finally chose yourself. That moment is now.